Shalawam family, it's your sister again, Sister Ray about Yehuda Thomas, here today to talk to you guys about something that's very near and dear to my heart and to the hearts of my loved ones. So this month is Prader Willi Syndrome Awareness Month. And again, that is Prader Willi Syndrome. I know some of you guys probably have never heard of Prader Willi Syndrome, and this will be the month that you guys will find out what it is, and it'll become something that you guys are very knowledgeable of, and that you guys can continue to grow and learn and pray with us as we grow and we learn as a family. So I have my laptop open. Let's get into Prader Willi Syndrome, what it is, and then we'll get into our lives and how it affects us and our family. So let's get into it. Again, Shalawam sisters and brothers. So Shalawam family, thank you so much for tuning in. To all of my subscribers, welcome back. I love you guys. It's always so amazing to have time to sit and talk to you guys, vent, everything. So I love you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And then to all of the people who are new to my channel, welcome. This channel talks a lot about the truth, we do, which is like talk things out of the Bible. There's DIYs, there's a day in the life, there's all types of stuff. We just invite you guys into our family. Once you're here, you are family. So shalom and welcome. So again, guys, today we're going to be talking about Prader Willi Syndrome. And I know you guys are probably thinking, what is Prader Willi Syndrome? I've never heard of that before. So I'm going to read off some information, and I should be able to put some information up for you guys to see as well as I'm reading this information off for you. So I'm just going to read off what it says here, anything that anyone will be able to pull up on the internet to find out what Prader Willi Syndrome is, and then I'll talk to you guys about what we know Prader Willi Syndrome to be. So this is coming from Google, and this is just a regular Wikipedia search. If you type in Prader Willi Syndrome, and it's Prader, Prader hyphen Willi, Willi syndrome. Okay, Prader Willi Syndrome, or PWS, is a genetic disorder caused by a loss of function in a specific gene on chromosome 15. In newborns, symptoms include weak muscles, poor feeding, and slow development, which is also called like failure to thrive. Beginning in childhood, those affected become constantly and consistently hungry, which often leads to obesity and type 2 diabetes. Mild to moderate intellectual impairment, behavioral problems are also typical of the disorder, often affected individuals have a narrow forehead, smaller nose and lip, and this is just getting more into like some of the telltale features that you can see in your children. But a lot of, and that's pretty much that for me reading off like the generic things that anybody can pull up. But in terms of what we know of Prader Willi Syndrome, so just like it was stated, Prader Willi Syndrome is a genetic disorder. Again, like I said, it happens on the father's copy of chromosome 15. It's either going to be a deletion or a translocation. It can lead to mild to moderate intellectual impairments. Definitely can give you some behavioral problems or issues as well, and that's mostly attributed to the communication barriers, and also again, as it stated about food becomes a big huge thing. So just to start to kind of bring things to a place where I feel like it's going to be more streamlined and make a little bit more sense, let me focus in on a few things. So in the beginning, babies with Prader Willi Syndrome are born very low tone, very, very kind of floppy in appearance and just kind of very straight. Whereas, when a typical baby is born, they are more balled up, really tight and tense, and that's not the case with babies with Prader Willi Syndrome. So I can say that was one of the first things that I noticed was the low tone. Then after the low tone, they have a hard time eating. Like maybe they are able to latch on, but because of the low muscle tone, they are not able to suckle with enough strength to allow your actual milk to let down. So that is one thing. So they have a very difficult time eating, but what's crazy or strange or ironic enough is that between the ages of 1 and 6, they can develop 1 year old and 6 years old, they can develop what's called hyperphagia, where they are just hungry, or they just may not be super hungry, but they are almost insatiable and unable to just be satisfied when it comes to food. As time goes on, there have been cases where parents have to lock up the pantry. They have to lock up the refrigerator. They have to lock away dog food, cat food. There are some really extreme cases, and it's sad because those babies, they just are not able to properly, and that's what happens with the hyperphagia. The brain and the stomach just don't communicate. They don't communicate full. Not to mention the fact that these babies are born already, just their body like basically over processes the calories anyway. So in order to really get ahead of everything that can come with Prader Willi syndrome, it's very, very important to have that early diagnosis. But early detection is almost, I feel like, of course they'll test because the baby will be low tone, but that does not necessarily mean that they will do genetic testing right away. So in some cases, there are parents who haven't found out exactly what it is that their child is dealing with until they have gotten so they can't control their weight, basically. And so once they've gotten to that point, then they start to seek out more help from nutritionists, or sometimes it's the opposite where they're not paying much attention and someone else notices and a doctor says something to them, or someone in school or something like that. So that's going to be a whole nother video where we get into just some of the things that mothers and fathers of special needs children grapple with because of the ignorance of other people. So yeah, so like I said, so in a nutshell, that's Prader Willi syndrome. Just like I said, the overall consensus or generalization of what it is a father's, the missing chromosome 15, and the father's copy of chromosome 15 is missing or is deleted or translocated. That gives you the overall clinical diagnosis. And then in terms of symptoms, you pretty much, the telltale signs when the babies are born: low tone, like I said, very floppy in appearance, they have a hard time eating, probably have to end up getting a whole bunch of different testing and things done, which that's, par for the course and on down the line, which is why I'm going to do a lot more videos, because I know that there are mothers who don't know, fathers who don't know, and it's a lot to deal with. It's a really sobering experience to have a newborn baby and be hearing things that could potentially affect your baby for the rest of their lives. Well, literally with Prader Willi syndrome, that's how it is, because there is no cure for Prader Willi syndrome. The tagline, or the, what's the word for that? Tagline or mantra of the Prader Willi syndrome foundation is we're still hungry for the cure, because of, it's kind of like a play on the obesity, the insatiable, and boom. So yeah, but anyway, so now let's get into the good stuff. Let's start talking about how this can affect your family and how it has affected mine thus far. So with my family, I've been, until recent, all praises to the Most High, I've been a single mother. So I had to learn everything on the fly by myself, deal with everything, not by myself, because I've had an amazing support system my mother. I praise and thank the Most High for my mom, because she's been an amazing help to me, and just everything, just along the way, just, dealing with the diagnosis and how that makes you feel, and guilt, and it sends a lot to your brain, to your spirit. You don't know what to do or what to think, because it's almost like you feel like it's almost like a death sentence, because you don't know what it is, because 9 times out of 10 you've never heard of this before anyway. So with RubyJane, and you know what, and I did all this talking, y'all, and I hadn't even really fully explained even which child I'm talking about. So RubyJane, our middle child, and our youngest daughter, she has Prader Willi Syndrome. And with Prader Willi Syndrome, with RubyJane, all praises to the Most High, she was born with albinism, which is what kick-started the genetic testing period. So had it not been for the albinism, I'm not sure when we would have even thought to do any type of genetic testing, because it probably would have been all types of other types of tests done eventually, but just not right away. Probably within the first few months of her life, but not, I never would have just immediately been necessarily all up in arms per se. So like I said, RubyJane was diagnosed with Prader Willi Syndrome really within like the first 2 weeks of her life. So we've known since RubyJane was about 2 weeks old that she has Prader Willi Syndrome. Now, at first, I didn't know what that meant. So, I had lots of questions, and you have like a team of people that you end up dealing with, geneticists, and the list can go on and on depending upon what it is that your baby is dealing with. It could be, again, a long list of things like scoliosis. My daughter, has scoliosis. So at one point we had to go to a place where she'd be able to be fitted for a brace, and that she'd have to wear every night. There was a time where she had issues because, again, like I said, these babies are born with a very low tone, very low muscle tone. So that can affect all of the windpipe, all of the everything up in the nose. And so at one point she had to have a CPAP. She's had to have her tonsils taken out, which ended up having her on a ventilator, which is what they call it when they don't really want you to be alarmed, but that's just a nice name for life support. So she had to get her tonsils removed when she was about 4 or 5, and that put her on life support or on a ventilator for about 3 or 4 days. What else? Some of those are the major things. Other than recently, the behavior. So that's a big thing. So I can say in our experience, the biggest things that we have seen or that we deal with are her weight, of course, and her behavior. And again, with the behavior, a lot of that is attributed to communication. Just seriously, communication barriers. They are not always properly able to properly articulate. Or they can, but they're not fully able to understand what you're articulating to them, because there's still that level of understanding or not understanding. So, just like I said in a nutshell, these are the things that we deal with, like the behavior. That's one. And as RubyJane has gotten older, it's progressively evolved. I don't want to say it's gotten worse, but progressively it's evolved into like dealing with a disgruntled teenager / toddler. So reasoning is something that's difficult because people with Prader Willi Syndrome can be very unreasonable at times, but that's because they're triggered. So understanding triggers is very important, because it really brings into play the understanding of what it is to deal with and live with and exist with people with special needs and people who have a different way of understanding. And it shows how it really behooves us all to not get one generic idea of what it is to be regular or normal, because this is our normal. You know, normal around here, normal in our household to us is, you know, a whole color spectrum. We literally have from the fairest skin all the way to the darkest, well, not the darkest, but all the way to dark skin in our household. But to other people that may be strange. To us, it's not. To us, it's every day. You know, to see RubyJane get triggered and have a meltdown to outside people is going to look strange, odd, out of place. To us, it's normal. It's what we do. It's what we have to deal with, so to speak. So, like I said, I wanted to just give you guys a little introduction throughout the rest of this week. I know that we're more than halfway through Salakia. I know that we're more than halfway through the month of May. It's been kind of busy. My sister, my oldest sister from my mom, she is actually getting married next month. So it's been very busy. So I haven't been able to do my content as much as I would love to. So I wanted to go ahead and just start off with just an introductory video, just to introduce you guys, to officially introduce you guys to RubyJane, to officially introduce you guys to Prader Willi Syndrome and what life is like living with Prader Willi Syndrome and living with someone who has Prader Willi Syndrome, because it's an experience for us all. So like I said, as this month goes on, we'll talk more. And as the year goes on, as life goes on, we'll talk more, because this is not just a 1 month thing. It's a all year, all day, every week, every month, every moment, every minute kind of thing. So I know you guys probably have questions. Make sure that you leave all your questions. Please question me. Please put questions in the comments, please. Y'all, comment, please. Their comments, they really help to really get the channel in the whole little YouTube algorithm and everything. It helps. So if you guys could just please comment, if you have comments, questions, concerns, share. It would be amazing if you guys would share, just because I'm really wanting to get everything to translate over and really bring everything in a cohesive way. So that means all of my social media, my YouTube channel, I want to bring everything together so that these platforms kind of mirror each other. And what I mean is so that my following on TikTok matches my following on YouTube, matches my following on Instagram, matches my following on other social sites as well. But like I said, y'all, I just wanted to come to you guys, give you guys a little, snippet, a little introduction to RubyJane, who she is, what Prader Willi Syndrome is, how it's affected our family. And like I said, we'll continue to come to you guys throughout this month especially, but continue to do it out as the year goes on. I have some really special things going on. I want you guys to be involved. I have to make sure I work on my audience interaction with you guys, because the more I interact with my family, the better it'll be. So I love you guys so much for listening, for being here with us, for us. And like I said, I know you guys will probably have questions. I hope you guys have questions. I welcome your questions. Send your questions to me. Like I said, I'll be more and more in contact with you guys as this month goes on. Again, I love you guys so much for tuning in today. Hope it hasn't been too long. Hope I've made sense. Hopefully I haven't rattled off too much. But the next one will be way more put together. I'm super excited to bring something so sensitive and so near and dear to our hearts. I'm very excited to bring this to you guys. And in the next video, I'm going to start off by talking to you guys about, actually, I think I might do a little interview with RubyJane so she can talk to you guys about how she feels living with Prader Willi Syndrome. And then I'll talk to you guys about just the whole experience and just, finding out about it and just working the whole thing through. I don't know. We'll figure it out together. But I love you guys, and there's plenty of content to come. All right, guys. Shalawam.